Hi guys, good afternoon and welcome to the 330 Sports Show. My name is Justin Coffin and today is Tuesday, May 18th, 2021. We are broadcasting live from downtown Youngstown, Ohio, and we are produced by Joe Danier's Youngstown Studio Network. And in the second half of the show, I have the Lockbox in front of me. You have a chance to win $900 in cash and a pair of AirPod Pros. A 3-digit code will unlock that. I'll have Joe in the second half of the show give you those clues. So again, phone lines will be open the second half of our show, 330-595-1600, 330-595-1600. On today's show, we have our Top 5 Tuesday. We're going to do our most influential NBA players of the last 30 years. We are also going to check in on the Indians and Major League Baseball. We'll check in on the NBA and the play-in tournament and wrap up the NBA season. We'll kind of put a bow on it and see what's next for the Cavs, who did not have a great season. We'll take a look at the Browns schedule. It was released last week and give our initial thoughts on that. We'll also have some news and notes around the boxing, college football, and the NBA Hall of Fame from this past weekend. I am going to throw it over to a video to introduce our guest, and then we will bring her on.
George has always known what she wanted to be.
I wanted to be a storyteller.
So she got a degree and became an overnight success.
Well, slow down. It took a lot of hard work and making the right choices.
Like what?
Some were obvious for me, like when my feet first hit the red bricks at Ohio University and when I took my first meteorology class.
So just follow your instinct.
Not exactly. I had a program that gave me the tools to succeed and had professional connections in the industry. Forever forward, forever Ohio.
All right, so I thought that video was way better than my introduction. So Alex, thanks for coming in and welcome to the show.
Thanks. I'm so happy to be here and go Bobcats on that note.
Absolutely. That's a very well done video. So like I said off air, I'm using that instead of doing my own intro.
I'll tell you what, and I said it in the video, that was my dream. When I went to school, they did this whole tour and they showed us some commercials with students and I was like, I want to do that someday.
Okay.
So that's an awesome moment.
Before we get into all that stuff then, how about what was your favorite memory or favorite thing from Athens?
Oh gosh, have you ever been there?
I've been to like the Bridge Street and I've been there for Halloween. So from what I remember, it was a pretty awesome town.
Everyone says Halloween. So the first time I was there was in the fall, and the red bricks and the leaves, I mean, just such a beautiful campus, and the feeling that I get every time I'm there. Yeah. It's just such an old town. It is a very pretty campus. Yeah, that's what I was drawn to initially. And then of course the fact that you can walk everywhere is just so awesome.
Okay. Very cool. So we know you went to OU for college. Tell us a little bit about your backstory, like where you grew up and all that, and kind of how you landed at WKBN.
Well, happy to say on the 330 Sports Show, I grew up in the 330, just a little further away from Youngstown. I grew up in Canton, Ohio.
Oh, okay.
I went to Glen Oak High School.
Nice.
And then knew I wanted to get into the journalism industry somehow. So ended up at OU that has an awesome journalism program. Loved my 4 years there. Wish I would have done 5. I, during that time, interned actually at WKBN.
Oh, wow. Okay.
2 years? I think 2 years maybe. Gosh, that seems like so long ago. And they actually called me and said, hey, we've got an opening. Yeah. Want to come back. And so this was close to home for me. It has now become my home. I love it here. And I've been here for 6 years now.
Wow. Okay.
This May, actually.
Okay. Awesome. And before I go any further, too, I got to say congratulations to you. Just announced you're having a baby girl.
Yes. So. Thank you so much. News that we were so happy to share. It's been a secret for a while to the public. So happy to bring everyone else in on that news, and it's been fun to talk about that with everybody.
Yeah, well, you look great, and I hope you're feeling great. So, okay, so growing up in Canton and things like that, and where did your passion for like the weather, or being a meteorologist, or just getting into broadcasting come from?
So it started. Actually, in middle school, I was like writing for our middle school newspaper.
Okay.
And I knew at that point, if anyone asked me, like I wanted to write somehow.
Sure.
And then when I went to school, they were like, well, we're not sure if like newspapers are going to be around. Well, here they are. No worries. But the digital world of news and everything has just changed so much. So I kind of shifted gears, started focusing more on broadcast. And one of my mentors in school was like, it's smart to take classes and things that just make you marketable. And she was like, for example, like I'm taking a weather class. That way I could go to a TV station and say, hey, I can do weather too. Well, it turns out I really loved that weather class. And so I was like, I'm going to study meteorology also and kind of do both. That way I can be marketable. I can do both. And I actually got a job here at WKBN as a reporter and a meteorologist to get started. So kind of worked out in my favor. And what I love about the weather is no matter where you go, that's what people talk about. Like, wow, it's nice to see that sun out there. Or, man, that weather really stinks. So I just like that it's something that brings everyone together. And you can't say that about very many things.
Exactly. I always say, like, sports is a great, like, distraction from real life. But the weather, everybody's got to deal with it, whether it's good or bad. And
I think it's really important because it is truly a lot of numbers. But I try really hard to make it relatable and, make you think about it in a way that you may not normally. Try to make it fun.
Yeah. I'm not someone that gets up like super, super early all the time. But I do see you guys on occasion and you guys do a great job. What I have to say, this is probably my biggest compliment I can give you too is like, I'm driving to work. It's like 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning. And, if I have like 570 or 1390 on and you come in and do the weather thing, like you have the best radio voice. So did you develop that or is that just natural born talent right there?
Someone else has told me that and I'm like, they are lying. Because when I do those, I listen to that. Anytime it comes on, I'm not kidding you, I turn it down because I just can't.
You're your biggest critic.
Sure. Yeah, no. So I have never taken a radio class ever. I have, to be honest, have no idea like what the technique is. But thank you.
Yeah, no.
If anyone has any tips, let me know.
It's like, when you're an athlete and you're just fast, it's like you can't coach that. It's just you have it or you don't.
And like the last couple of weeks, my allergies have been horrible and only in the morning. So that's the first thing. I get to work at like 2:33 and that's one of the first things I do. And so like I sound like this sometimes when I'm doing it. I'm like, oh boy, these people are probably driving to work thinking, what is going on?
Oh no, that's great. So like you had mentioned, the weather kind of connects us all. And it's a little cliche, everyone talks about the weather, just in passing and whatever. And I feel like if there's like a lull or you don't know kind of what to talk about with someone, you go to the weather. So how often, and I asked Eric Wilhelm this before. So I said, okay, you're in a grocery store or wherever around town and someone sees you and now luckily we have masks on, or at least for a little while longer. So maybe you're not as recognizable then, but how often does someone come up to you and either talk to you about the weather or maybe complain about something in the weather?
So almost every time I'm at the store, either a cashier or like someone in line will say, man, it's beautiful out there. And I don't want to be full of myself. And so I'm not sure if they're saying that because they watch or if they're truly just sparking up a conversation. So it happens almost every time I'm at the store. I would say most of the time it's because people don't know who I am. Maybe I just look like I'm approachable. The masks really help with that, I think, especially. But yeah, it happens pretty often.
Okay. All right. Very good. So you get up early, I would imagine. What time, Chelsea, I remember her saying like she hits the snooze button like constantly. Gosh. How about you? Like what's your morning routine?
So I set my alarm for 1:30 in the morning. Gosh. Bless my husband because I snoozed. Today I snoozed until 2:30 in the morning. So that's an hour of snoozing for anyone doing the math on that. My husband and my dog both sleep through it. I don't know how. So anyways, I usually get up between 2:30 on a good day. I go to work. I kind of sleep in shifts, which is kind of hard for some people to wrap their heads around. So I usually go home and take a nap for a couple of hours, and then I go to bed 7:30, 8 o'clock and sleep for 5-6 hours.
Okay. All right. Do you ever feel, I don't know, do you ever feel like you're missing out on anything like later on in the day? Like what time does someone like you eat dinner at, like on a weekday?
I try to be strict about that because it's hard to eat and then go right to bed. So I usually eat 5:30.
Okay.
I say to most people, if I were doing any other job, I would still probably be in bed by 8:30. I don't know. Right. I just like going to bed. In the summer, it gets tough. It's still light out. You can hear people outside. That's kind of when I do feel like I'm missing out. But at the same time, I'm done with work by 1 o'clock.
Exactly. Yeah.
So am I always awake enough to do things? No, but could I do something theoretically? Sure.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, you might maybe, there might be certain limitations later, but you have there's pros and cons to everything.
Well, with any job, sure, absolutely.
Okay. Okay. So, I don't know how things work, while pregnant and stuff, but are you a coffee drinker?
Yes.
Okay.
My doctor has said 1 to 2 cups is okay, thank goodness, because when you wake up at a time you're not supposed to be up, coffee is big. So I drink a cup of black coffee every morning and power through. Lots of water too. Water helps.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm a minimum like 5 cup in the morning.
Not
person.
Pregnant, Alex. Like usually like 3 or 4.
Okay.
So this has been challenging.
Yeah. Well, you're doing a great job. You're doing a great job. One thing I have to compliment you guys. It's you, and I'll apologize if I forget anybody. I believe it's Paul.
Yes.
At the station. You guys at least last year were doing weather for kids, and I thought that was really cool. I even shared, like I was teaching up till last year, and I even shared a few of those videos. I believe you started them during the pandemic.
And that's actually why we started them.
Okay. So I definitely shared some of those with my class last year, and I thought you guys did a fantastic job with that.
But I think it's important too to get young kids interested in science in a way that they may not think about weather being science or a field that they want to get into. So it's kind of fun to break it down to that level.
Absolutely.
It was fun coming up with the different experiments. That was an added challenge, but I'm glad to hear that folks liked them.
And I can even say from an adult's perspective and even other teachers, we learned something from that as well, because, you break it down in a way that, maybe you didn't think of it like that.
Right.
So that's good. Okay, so I have to tell you a quick story, and I just want your opinion on this or your thoughts on this. Okay, so I was 18 years old. I was a senior in high school. I was, I'd work like 1 or 2 days a week with sports and other stuff. So my grandma owned this little lottery booth. It used to be in front of Giant Eagle and Boardman. Now it's across, I think it's like Burlington Coat Factory.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
So I used to work in there like 1, maybe 2 nights a week. And there was a horrible torrential downpour, lightning, crazy everything. So, we still had a corded phone at the time in that booth. So, long story short, the lightning strikes the building while there is a phone call. So I answer it, boom, get knocked backwards, knocked out, unconscious. That's why I'm wearing the lightning shirt here, by the way.
I did notice that. I appreciate that.
So I just have to tell you this, and I want your opinions on it.
Okay.
So the weirdest thing, I get like taken off to the hospital, and like I have like an accelerated heartbeat. But the craziest thing, they take my shoes off, and I'm wearing like white socks. At the ends, they're singed black. So it obviously traveled through. And so like, I just, as a weather person, meteorologist, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, first of all, I don't think I've ever met someone who has been struck by lightning. I mean, I know it wasn't you. It was through. Yes. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So I tell that, like, when you have to do icebreakers in certain situations, like that's my go-to story, because it's like,
well, and a lot of people think, and we emphasize tornadoes are dangerous, flooding is dangerous, but lightning just in a thunderstorm is so dangerous. And I think people kind of brush it off a little bit. Like, oh, hey, that's cool to see, but it's really dangerous. And I mean, clearly
I was one of the lucky ones that made it out. But
wow.
Yeah, I always say I probably dropped a few IQ points that day. maybe I gained some. I don't know.
So did they tell you anything at the hospital? Like,
all they said, like my heartbeat was like, normally my like resting heart rate was like 70 or something like that. I think it was like 140. So
can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Has that changed how you like think about thunderstorms? Like, are you a little like cautious?
I've always been like fascinated with weather and like the, lightning and thunder and stuff. But yeah, I'm always very like, take a step back, make sure I'm indoors, nothing crazy, because I don't know if this is true or not. I actually thought I read a story, or someone told me a story, that if you get struck once, you're more likely to get struck again.
I have no idea.
It sounds like total BS to me, but I don't know.
Wow.
Yeah.
I will say this. Let me throw out my, meteorologist disclaimer. If you can hear thunder close enough that you can be struck by lightning.
Yeah.
So again, in the summertime, everyone's like, oh, it's far away. Don't mess with lightning.
I've had one friend too that had like a close, like didn't get struck, but he was on a golf course and it was like 5:30. So it was the heat of the day, and a tree probably like 30 feet away from him got hit. And he just said, I felt like, when you like get shocked or shock someone, that he said he felt like that through him. So it was just crazy. So
wow.
I had to share that with you.
I am so glad you did.
So anyways, how about this weather outside? It's beautiful.
Gosh, what a great day.
So, I mean, I'm glad you came in on the nicest day of the year, too. So, let me transition to sports. We'll come back, and I have some fun weather stuff we're going to talk about in a little bit. So, Canton Glen Oak, you mentioned. Yes. Okay, Eagles.
Yeah, wow, I'm impressed.
Yeah, like when I was a boardman, Federal League, we were in the same conference for a while.
I played basketball, and we were actually in the same league.
Okay.
So, before I knew I was going to end up here, we came up here for a couple of games. Actually, Boardman and Austintown, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so.
Okay, so you played basketball at Glen Oak. You were probably pretty good then.
Okay, I played like my freshman year. For the record, I was not very good.
Okay.
But I've always loved basketball.
Okay.
So.
Well, Glen Oak is a powerhouse.
It's
in
a great
girls
program.
Basketball.
Girls and our boys teams were always, especially when I was there.
CJ McCollum played there for the Portland Trailblazers.
We were there at the same time.
Okay.
He was a little older than I was.
Okay.
But
how about is it Dustin Fox?
Yes.
Was he there as well?
No.
He might be a little older.
He was older than I am, but it was around the same time.
And the other person I can think of, Costa Kufis.
Yes, he was there when I was there. Yeah.
Okay.
So it was fun to watch that team.
Yeah. So you guys had some definite basketball talent in that building. Okay. So any other sports besides basketball?
Nothing notable.
That's okay. Well, I mean, basketball at Glen Oak, that's a pretty big deal. Do you have any favorite teams or athletes that you follow?
Sure. So you should have asked my husband to be on the show, because he is
he's welcome on anytime.
He truly has such a passion for sports. So I have learned to enjoy sports through him.
Sure.
He loves golf.
Okay.
So we watch a lot of golf together. Nice. So I like watching Rory. He's also a little cute. I do enjoy watching basketball.
Okay.
Cavs, unfortunately, aren't too fun.
Yeah.
And then my husband's a big Browns fan, and you can't help but love the Browns right now, right?
Okay, right, exactly. Is he from this area or from Canton?
He actually, we both graduated from Glen Oak.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
very nice.
So we obviously live here together, so he now is over here with me. But.
Okay, all right, very good, very good. Okay, this is a random question too. So if you had a time machine where you could go to any game ever, either in the future, which... Actually, Chelsea, when she was on, picked a game in the future. Only person to ever do that, which is really, I thought that was a cool answer. Or any game in the past. What would you choose?
To be honest, my first thought was Browns in the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah, okay.
Can Baker get us there?
I have my fingers crossed. I hope you're right.
Could you imagine being at that game?
Oh my God. It's in LA this year.
Wow.
That would be phenomenal.
And just to say that we watched all those years when they weren't good, and then to be there, I don't know. Yeah, that's what I'm going with. That's my answer.
I like that. Very good. Do you have a favorite sports movie?
My first thought, this is not going to be my final answer. My first thought was Mighty Ducks.
Yeah, okay.
I more recently probably Moneyball.
Okay.
I like kind of those smart. I mean, I know that's based on a true story, but
The one Jonah Hill's character in that movie is based on Paul DePodesta, who actually works for the Cleveland Browns now.
Really? That's really cool. I didn't know that.
So, yeah, very, very smart.
You have probably seen every sports movie.
You know what? We did a sports movie bracket way back in March, and we had like 96 movies on there. So I had probably seen about 2/3 of them.
Okay.
But like, the Happy Gilmores, I've seen like 10 times. But there's other movies that were on that list that I've heard of, but I had never seen.
Yeah.
So I kind of went back and at least watched the trailer for them.
Yeah.
So I could give a little bit of a somewhat
Input,
of analysis. Yeah. So, no, that's good. And Mighty Ducks too. Someone told me, they said, don't you remember Keenan, because Keenan Thompson's on SNL. It's like, don't you remember he was on that? And I like totally.
I don't know that I would have
mind.
like made that connection. Yeah. Gosh,
So
I probably haven't seen a Mighty Ducks movie though in like 15 years.
Oh my gosh. Well, now I have a 2-year-old daughter, I was telling
Okay.
you. And so we watch we have Disney Plus. So we watch like every night, we watch like Toy Story or, one of the, Cinderella, Moana, something like that. But I noticed there was like the Mighty Ducks whole series on there, and there's even a new one. So maybe I can try to get her out of the cartoon world and start watching those.
I had to go to like the video store to get it.
Oh, sorry, my watch is talking to me. All right, let's go to a segment I kind of told you about beforehand. Okay. I've never done this on the show, but it's going to be a new segment. It's called One's Gotta Go. So some of these are entertainment, some of these are weather. We'll just, whatever. So one's got to go. You got to keep 3 of the 4 of them. Winter, spring, summer, or fall. One's got to go.
Winter for sure.
Okay. All right, good. I'm on board with you there. This one's tough. This one's totally random. Politicians, surgeons, janitors, or dentists. One has to go.
Nobody likes going to the dentist, right?
Okay.
Oh, that's a really tough one.
Okay.
Sorry to all the dentists out there, but I'm going to go dentist.
All right. I'm going with politicians on that one. There's just...
I guess that one too.
No, that's good. That's good. All right, the food one. Grilled cheese, peanut butter and jelly, tuna sandwich, or roast beef sandwich.
I'm allergic to tuna, so easy.
Okay. Well, that one's simple. All right, movies. Anchorman, Superbad, The Hangover, or Dumb and Dumber.
This is wild with my field, but Anchorman for sure.
Okay.
That kind of humor is just not my...
Okay.
I know it's like some people's favorite movie, but...
No, that's good. I like that. Okay. Do you watch The Office?
No, I do not.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to skip the next question. All right. I'm going to skip the next question. All right. So, this is, I guess, another food one. Ketchup, mustard, mayonnaise, or hot sauce?
Oh, don't make me do that.
One's got to go.
Mustard, I guess.
Okay.
How do you even pick?
It's just, that's why it's tough, I guess. All right. This one's maybe a little tougher, a little easier. I'm not sure. It's called This or That. So these are all weather related. Thunder or lightning?
So am I picking the one I like?
Yeah.
Thunder?
Thunder. Okay.
Yeah, thunder. It's harmless.
Rain or snow?
Rain.
Okay. You're loving these answers. Spring or fall?
That's a hard one. Spring.
Okay. Okay. All right. Now, here's a total random one. Would you rather wear winter clothes in the dead of summer or wear summer clothes in the dead of winter?
Gosh, I hate being stinky, but I hate being cold. I'm going to go with summer clothes in winter.
Okay. Okay.
And you're not sweaty, right?
No, I mean, it's your own personal preference. You take you can take that and run with it however you want. All right. So when you're actually broadcasting, would you rather have to make a prediction for an incoming thunderstorm or an incoming winter storm? So I guess which one maybe would you prefer over the other?
People get mean over winter storms, so I'm going to go with thunderstorms.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I think that's fair. Okay. Would you rather eat Handel's ice cream in a blizzard, or would you rather have your favorite pizza from Youngstown in 100-degree heat?
Oh,
both outside. You got to eat them both outside.
Gosh, that's hard. Pizza in heat. I think.
Okay. All right. Would you rather? So if this is saying you're a meteorologist out in the field, would you rather be a tornado chaser, or would you rather report on a beach for an incoming hurricane?
Probably storm chasing.
Okay. That to me is fascinating and frightening at the same time.
If you know your stuff, you have to know what you're doing. But everyone has always asked, like, why don't you move like down south and work down there? And hurricanes is the number one reason I don't want to. I mean,
frightening. Yeah.
Well, and
you got to pack up your life pretty much.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, it can knock your life down for months.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So.
Okay.
I'll take our crazy weather over that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can experience all 4 seasons
in a week.
Here.
Yeah. How lucky are we?
Would you rather, last one of these, would you rather go snow skiing or water skiing?
Water skiing.
Okay. All right, very good. All right, now I kind of prepped you a little bit for this question, but I did not give you much time. So I last night went through and I kind of Googled as many sports teams, both professional and college, with names or mascots named after the weather. How many do you think you can name? Or I guess off the top of your head, what can you name?
The first one that came to mind, I don't know if this counts, the Kent State Golden Flashes.
Okay. Yeah, we'll count that.
That's the first one I thought.
We'll count that.
I know there's a Thunder team, like Kansas, don't they have
Oklahoma City.
Oklahoma, I'm somewhat close.
No, that's good.
There's definitely a hurricane team, and I want to say it's a hockey
There is.
team.
There's the Carolina Hurricanes.
I have no idea where I pulled that out of.
There's also the Miami Hurricanes, which is the University of Miami.
Okay. What other type of this? There's the Suns. There's baseball team. Baseball.
Basketball. Phoenix. Phoenix Suns. You're good though. I mean, you got it.
What other weather? There probably won't be any.
So think
clouds.
of hot. Really hot.
Oh, the Miami Heat.
There you go.
What it took me so long on that one? So
all right. And what's
the Lightning Bolts?
Yeah, the Lightning, the Tampa Bay Lightning.
What is a baseball?
They are hockey.
Oh, okay.
Hockey. A few other ones that I had seen, the Colorado Avalanche.
Oh,
sort of weather related.
For sure,
absolutely. Iowa State Cyclones. Would you consider, is earthquakes part of the weather?
Yeah.
Okay. Kind of, right? Now, I don't think this one should technically be on the list, but it is Alabama Crimson Tide.
Oh, because of the tide?
Yeah.
What is a Crimson Tide?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah, that's okay. All right.
Okay. Hawaii Rainbow Warriors. Rainbow. The Golden Hurricane, the Green Wave. There's also the Calgary Flames. Does Flames count? Yeah. I guess that could be like now I'm maybe getting a little more obscure.
I came up with more than I thought.
Yeah, no, you did good. You did good. Here, let me just read a few like random ones since I have the list in front of me. These are like smaller colleges. Okay. Cascades, Blue Waves. There's a team called the Tri-City Dust Devils. That's kind of a cool one. Yeah. The Inferno. In Massachusetts, there's a school called the Nor'easters.
Oh.
So I thought that was a good one. The Montana something. Northern Lights. I guess that kind of counts, right? What about the Shock? That's a little obscure. And then there is an actual team named the Omaha Storm Chasers.
Oh, that's
in Omaha, Nebraska. So I thought that was cool. And then let me just throw these out for you. These are players or athletes named, not named after the weather, that have weather names. So JT Snow, Storm Davis, David Weathers, Drew Brees, Kurt Flood, Theo Fleury. Fleury's kind of like a Chip Hale, Sean Burr, like Burr.
How's that spelled?
Burr. Okay. Yeah, BRRR.
Could you imagine that was your last name?
David Freeze, Scott Frost, Sonny Gray, Summer Sanders, which, by the way, Melanie, who was on the show on Friday, swam with Summer Sanders in the Olympics.
That's cool.
Warren Moon, Josh Fogg, Mark Clear. There's only five more. Brian Winters, Chuck Hayes.
Hayes, like hazy.
Hayes, yeah. Hayes, yeah. Gail Sayers, Floyd Mayweather. That one's a stretch.
Mayweather, yeah.
And John McLeod.
Well, you know what? I'll tell you, we don't have a name for our little girl yet, so maybe you've given me some inspiration.
If she's a future weathercaster, there's got to be some interesting ones out there. Like in those movies and stuff, when you see, like the weather person or the meteorologist, they always have like really funny names in movies and stuff like that. So I think Alex George is a straight up great all-American name.
And there's usually no mix-up of spellings. That's what's nice. People usually can get it right. So.
Absolutely. So Alex, before we close out here, tell people real quick, I want to ask a two-part question here. So one, how can people like follow you on social media? And two, how has social media like changed your job?
Okay. So first, Facebook, Alex George, Instagram. I'm pretty active on Instagram, Alex George WKBN. I'm on Twitter. I'm not the best at checking it. I wake up at 1:30. So
exactly.
Exactly. Just so much. And then we also, we do a lot on our website. So I do like daily forecast, WKBN.com. You can always check that out. Social media has I started my job in 2015, so social media was already a big thing. But now as an industry, we're trying to figure out what to do with it, how to be a big presence. I mean, there's so much out there.
Right.
I mean, and plus we're competing with apps too, you have to keep in mind. So we're constantly trying to think of creative ways to get our weather forecasts out there. We try really hard to do something that your app can't.
Okay.
Or be more accurate than your app. So if you follow on Facebook, I post a lot of lifestyle forecasts or little tidbits. You mentioned you like the weather for kids. We'll sometimes share stuff like that. And it's just fun to share behind the scenes. I think a lot of people have an idea of what our day is like and what our job is like. And we're these newscaster people that don't have lives, and that's not true. And so I think the fun part of social media is we get to show off. If you follow me on Facebook or Instagram, I post a lot of pictures of my dog. I think most of the people who are on my Facebook are there just for the dog content. so that's kind of been the fun side of it.
And you had him in the pool yesterday, right?
Yes. My dog loves to swim. So we just opened the pool this week, and she's actually at the groomer right now. So I'm sure all that money we pay for the groomer will just go right in the pool water when she gets home. So,
well, we can't thank you enough for coming in.
Oh, this
I know
is so
you started
fun.
your job at 5 o'clock this morning. You've been up since 1:30, so it's probably time for that segmented nap, right?
It's about nap time.
So, before we close out, I just want to say good luck and congratulations. We hope you continue to feel good and healthy and all that stuff. So we appreciate you coming in and thanks a lot.
Happy to be here. Love Youngstown. So this is just, your show's awesome. It's bringing a name to our area.
Yeah. And we appreciate, influencers like you and, friendly faces around Youngstown coming on and helping us grow our network too. So thank you. And, continued good wishes to you guys.
Thanks so much.
Joe, we're going to throw it over to our Zoom call now.
All right. Hey, guys. Justin Coffin. Joining me is Greg Kirchner, Edgar Mosco, Brett Franklin. We are going to just sort of go over a list of, I'm going to do my top 5 most influential NBA players over the last 30 years. So this is from 1991 season up until now, the 2021 season, which just came to an end, the regular season, and the playoffs are going to start tomorrow. So I'm going to share with you guys my list, and then I'm going to have you, if you want to, piggyback off of them, if you want to add more, maybe that I didn't forget. I have some honorable mentions on this list as well. So I'm going to just share mine, and you guys can kind of tell me what you think. So here comes mine. And once again, it probably won't load. There we go. Okay. So and these are in not necessarily a particular order, but on my list, I have Shaquille O'Neal, Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, Steph Curry, and Michael Jordan. And you guys can probably see down there on the bottom, I put my honorable mentions. I really had a tough time choosing between Allen Iverson and Shaquille O'Neal. Those were kind of my like 5-6 guys, I guess. Allen Iverson, I guess maybe from a playing perspective, I kind of wanted to put in more, but I thought Shaq, with like all the media stuff he does, like the TNT and all that other stuff, I thought that made more sense. You know, he's done like some rap stuff. He made the most god awful movie ever in Shazam or whatever that was called, Kazam. But you know, he's known outside of basketball. You know, obviously he became known outside of basketball because of basketball, but he's so you know, famous because of that, but transcends the sport. So and obviously Steph Curry and Michael Jordan. So, you know, I think a lot of people would probably agree with this list, but you know, they might, you know, have a few changes. The other people I had down here as honorable mentions: Yao Ming, James Harden, Russell Westbrook, Dirk Nowitzki, Dwayne Wade, and Kevin Durant. Those were sort of my top 12. There's one guy missing out of those 12. I guess he'd probably be number 13, Tim Duncan, who's probably had the most success besides the main guys on the list. But he's just kind of that, you know, they called him the big fundamental for a reason. He's kind of boring, doesn't bring a whole lot to the table, like personality wise, although he's a good dude. And you saw him get inducted in the Hall of Fame this past weekend. He had those like dreadlocks and a whole different look and persona going. But Greg, I'll start with you. You know, I guess either whatever you think about this list or your additions or subtractions or whatever you want to say about this.
Yeah, no, I think it's hard to argue with this list. It's interesting, you know, we always get into these like, how do you define, you know, whatever. Now, how do you define influential, right? But when you look at these guys, I know you talked about some of the off the court stuff with Shaq, but I mean, you can't argue against what all of these guys did on the court that was influential. The more, you know, I guess my call out, and I wonder if I'm kind of shared in this with a lot of Cavs fans. I mean, I hated Steph Curry for the longest time because he was our rival, and you know, he was the hurdle we had to get over. Unfortunately, since LeBron left and the Cavs started sucking, like I just really started to appreciate the absolute transcendent, incredible talent that Steph Curry is. And you could really argue that truly from just changing the way that the game of basketball is played, that Curry is as influential as anybody. You know, like people are pulling up from 35 feet now and, you know, in all levels, right? And that used to be like, what the hell are you doing? Terrible shot, get on the bench. That's the norm now. Guys are practicing this. Guys are launching threes from every point on the court at any time. Like the 3-point shot has always been a pretty big part of the game, but you know, Steph has made it an art form. So, I mean, that's really my main call out is just, I mean, how influential he has been on actually changing the way that the sport is played. You know, as you look now, I mean, and NBA's turned into a guard league. Shaq, you know, we had talked about this earlier. Shaq was an incredibly influential player, but he was also maybe one of the last of his time as far as one of the last true big men, you know, big post up men. Now you see guard play. Iverson kind of started that too, the little guy playing. So yeah, I think it's a great list. I have one ad here and I don't know where to put him. I used to like him until he went to Boston, but I think Kevin Garnett deserves a mention. I think he was really the first guy to come out of high school, I think, legitimately and become a star. I know Moses Malone did like years back, but Garnett, I guess, in a way kind of started that trend that went through LeBron until they disallowed it. So, but yeah,
definitely Garnett in our era was the first guy to jump high school.
Yeah.
Edgar, how about you? You have any additions or subtractions or what do you think about this list?
I think the list you have is pretty legit. I would probably add Dwayne Wade.
Okay. Yep.
I I mean, the guy went to 4 years at Marquette, actually, came back to get his education and then went on to the pros. So, I mean, I give him credit for doing that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a hell of a lot of people don't do that nowadays.
Yeah. All right. Very good.
But I mean, his talent on the court speaks for himself.
Oh yeah.
I mean, and then what he does off the court too. And now he's going to probably watch his son play in the NBA.
Yep.
Yeah, him and LeBron both probably. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, and Brett, how about you? What do you think?
I like it. I'm gonna go a little bit away from what Greg was saying, actually, because if there's one person on this list I'd take out, it actually probably would be Curry.
Okay.
And it's more of it's just more of my mindset of it's too early to say how influential he is. Now, it's not to diminish anything that he has done to this point, because Greg brought up good points about sort of changing how it's done. But is that going to be something that sustains over a much longer period of time? I usually try, I think, when you talk about influential people, just really with anything, it's really about down the road, how were they then? You kind of have to look at things in hindsight. I just think we're a little close to Steph. He's being super influential. I'd probably have him at 6 though, so it's not like I'm dropping him out of the list completely. I'd probably just flip him with Iverson. One that you don't have, and I think it's just one that player that I've always liked, and I'm as soon as I say it, you may laugh, because I'm gonna use not an analogy, just a word on him. We've complained about this with other people, specifically wide receivers in the NFL, but he's scrappy, and it's Steve Nash.
Okay.
And I'm not saying he'd be on the towards the bottom end of the honorable mentions for me, but I think with the way that he played, you were guaranteed to get a lot of points, a lot of assists out of him. He was a consummate teammate, always looking to get other people involved, and I think you're seeing that a lot now too. You obviously have your scores and stuff like that, but you have a lot more looking around to get the ball to other people. The amount of passing going on to get the open players, I think Steve Nash helped to contribute to that.
That's a good addition, especially now he's coaching two guys that I have on my honorable mention in Harden and Durant. So,
well, you could really say those Suns teams, even the Mavericks teams, but really when they went to the Sun, when they had Mike D'Antoni and the Suns, and he had Amari Stoudemire, and they had just a really fun team to watch, but they started pushing the pace, and now look at today's NBA.
That's a good point.
They were sort of transcendent, and like they brought back that era, because you remember back in the early 2000s, late 90s, if a team got to 100 points, it was borderline unusual. Now we're back to the era of 130, 120 very easily, 130, 140. You see some crazy totals in the regular season. You're getting back to that style, but the Nash teams, I think, were really on the front edge of that.
Okay.
Think about this. If you want to talk about influential players, take the dream team from 92. International basketball sucked back then. Mm-hmm. And then look at it now. I know it's not what you can't compare it to America now.
Well,
but
to be fair, it wasn't so much that the international game sucked, as that the U.S.
forbid
professional athletes from playing on their Olympic teams. That team was the first time we let that happen.
Well, yeah, but look at it from 92 on. The talent level on the international level has skyrocketed.
Yeah.
Now,
right.
And I think you could thank like Dirk Nowitzki and Manu Ginobili, if you want to.
Even like Pau Gasol and those guys too. Yeah, just like those guys. Yeah.
From an international level.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, even drop Franklin's guy, Steve Nash, is a Canadian too.
Mm-hmm.
So, Canada's basically America, but it is a different country. So,
right.
Canadian beers like moonshine.
Because like Tony Kukoc was like one of the best international players in the 90s.
Right. and he got
he was
and
good, but he came
they-
over and was the third or fourth or fifth best player on the Bulls.
Right.
Now you got Luka Doncic. Where's he if there wasn't this international boom? So that's a really, I really like that take.
Yeah, good point, Edgar.
Thanks.
And Yao Ming, I know we haven't really talked about him, but obviously the the uniqueness of him and the influence of him, but aside from everything else, that guy was a phenomenal basketball player, and it's really sad that his career got cut short because he was completely unique in his size, but also his ability to his touch. And I think he shot like 85% from the line or something. He's an incredibly unique talent, and he would be talked about probably in the same breath as a lot of these guys if he got to play a full career without being hurt.
But think about it, Greg. That's when the game was changing in terms of pace.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not gonna have a 7-foot guy run down the court.
Yeah, you don't have a use for Detlef Schrempf anymore.
Rick Smits.
I had the name drop that one.
All right, guys. Thanks for those takes. And we're gonna record another one here soon in a minute, so we'll be back. All right.
And that's a wrap.
Later, Ed.
Still says recording now.
Oh, it does?
Yes.
Welcome back. Thanks again to Alex George for coming in. Thanks to those guys for helping out with, talking about our Top 5 Tuesday and some influential NBA players. Those same 3 other guys are going to join me on a Thursday show that's going to be very entertaining if you like 80s movies. I will tell you the little preview for Thursday's show. It will be very, very funny and entertaining. So let me bring up a real quick image here. Just ways you can watch, listen, and help support our show. So first of all, obviously my show is on the Youngstown Studio Network. You can find all different sorts of varieties of shows on our network in Youngstown Studio Network. And it's basically, if you just on Facebook, on YouTube, you type in Youngstown Studio, you can follow it. You can find all our different shows. The best way to help support our show right now is share out the content, share out the word. So retweeting, sharing, all that stuff really helps us grow, not just an audience, but in different forms of content we can put out there for you guys. We also have, you can watch on demand through any of those networks anytime. Facebook, we have a huge catalog of shows. We have nearly 500 shows. You can also listen to any of our shows on any podcast platform of your choosing: Apple, Spotify, Apple, Spotify, iHeart, really anything that you listen to, your favorite podcast platform. You can call in live. Again, 330-595-1600. And right in front of me, how easy does it get to win $900? This isn't the $1 million vaccine, but it's $900 just by calling in and guessing a 3-digit code. So a 3-digit code will unlock $900 in cash and a pair of AirPod Pros, which Joe has graciously donated. Joe, would you like to give the clues once again?
Can I play something here real quick?
Please, yeah.
Okay, so I want to tell you, we had a guy throw in some sponsor dollars, and I told a little bit of the story, and I want to acknowledge the people who really support this program because it's so crucial. And so a guy contacted me last week and said, "Hey, I'd like to throw something up here." I recorded a quick intro, so let me go ahead and play that if you don't mind.
Sure, yeah, please.
Hey guys, it's Joe Danier. I wanted to thank Joe Fignano from Dirty Joe's Bin Cleaning Service for bringing some sponsorship dollars to Youngstown Studio. We met Joe last year. We saw a Facebook commercial that ran, and basically they take dirty, disgusting trash cans and they sanitize them and make them brand new looking again. And I'm not necessarily a hypochondriac, but I do worry about things that are gross and germ-laden and just not clean. And I am a hand sanitizer fool. I just like things to be nice and clean. So anyway, I want to show you this commercial that they're running over on their Facebook page.
Bin cleaning is a new service in the Mahoning Valley. We come to your curbside after the garbage has been removed to clean, disinfect, and sanitize your trash bins. To schedule a cleaning today, call or text 330-540-2003 or check us out on Facebook or online at www.dirtyjoesbins.com.
All right, so they wheel your cans up to this truck, and the truck has these cleaning wands and a whole system for being able to run it through sanitization. So if after your trash pickup happens, you call these guys out, schedule them, and then they'll dump it and clean it. In our case, we've been doing it every fall and every spring, and it works out perfectly. So I hope you guys will show some love to Dirty Joe's bin cleaning and sanitizing service. You can go to their website and schedule yourself. So this is the site here. It is dirtyjoesbins.com, dirtyjoesbins.com, and then you can price it out and register yourself, or you can do it the old school way and use their phone number, which is also on their page, 330-540-2003. Again, that's Dirty Joe's Bins. We want to thank those guys. We really appreciate the sponsorship over here. You make all of this programming possible, so thanks again.
Cool. So Dirty Joe's Bins, check them out. Like Joe said, like Clean Joe said, check out Dirty Joe's. So
that's it.
That's very cool. And that's something like you wouldn't normally think about, but like you said, it's definitely a needed service.
It's freaking gross.
Yeah,
My trash cans were
disgusting.
gross.
All right. Very cool. Very cool.
So thank you to them.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you guys. I do want to get into some sports news and notes here.
Do you want me to give the I'm sorry.
I'm
thing.
sorry.
I interrupted you. I hijacked your crap, but when you said sponsorships, I thought.
My short-term memory is about this. I have a great long-term memory. Short-term, not so much. Go ahead.
All right. So we have the Lockbox. $900 is in it, plus an AirPod Pros. I gave 3 clues and one half clue. One of the clues is that I got the number from a clock. The second one is partner. Third one is 1 even number, 2 odd numbers. And the last one was I really didn't know whether or not 0 was an even or odd number, so it might not have a 0 in it. So there you go. 330-595-1600 if you want to guess the 3-digit clue, and then you could win.
Okay. I'm gonna say that means 0 is not in the number. I'm just gonna guess that. So I'm just guessing.
He's
I don't
taking
know.
some
I
notes
could be
here.
wrong.
Taking some notes.
Okay, and I am not eligible to win this. I mean, Joe might say I am, but I'm not even.
Every once in a while, I'll let you put a code in just to see if you get lucky.
Okay.
But the whole time, I'm hoping that you don't win because someone's going to then accuse us of nepotism or one of those other things are.
Yeah. Well, if I win, I'll put the money back in. How about that?
Well, do you see the spreadsheet? This is actually these are actually the numbers that have been, the red ones have been eliminated.
Oh wow!
So the white ones are the only ones that are still in play.
Okay.
So I'm renting that sheet. If you want to look at that sheet, it's $20 a peek.
Ooh. Okay. All right. I mean, that's not a bad deal. That's not a bad deal. Okay. Well, let's get into some Major League news and notes. And again, if you would like to call in, talk sports, try to guess a number, whatever. 330-595-1600, 330-595-1600. So some baseball news and notes. The Cleveland Indians, it's so weird. Everything in baseball is so short term. Coming into, Indians had won Thursday night, and they were 21-14. Tied for first in the AL Central. They've since lost 4 games in a row. So they're 21-18, still a pretty good record, in second place in the American League Central. Their biggest phobia this year is hitting the ball. They just can't seem to get it going offensively, But here's an interesting stat I just read. It was actually going into last night. So when the Indians score 4 runs or more, 4, that's not asking a whole lot, 4 runs or more, going into last night, they were 18-1. 18-1 by scoring 4 runs or more. Their pitching staff is so good, but they just can't seem to put up those numbers. Last night, ironically, they lost 7-4. So now they're 18-2 when scoring 4 runs or more. But still, 4 is that magic number for them. You can get to 4. It sounds like there's a 90% chance you're going to win that game. Also, the team they're playing, just released Albert Pujols, the Anaheim Angels of LA. He is one of only 3 people in Major League Baseball history to have 600 home runs and 2,100 RBIs. That list includes Albert Pujols, Babe Ruth, and Hank Aaron, the only 3 players in Major League Baseball. But he is not going too far. The Los Angeles Dodgers just picked him up for the rest of the season. And don't feel bad for Albert Pujols. His numbers are amazing. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer in the future. And he's going to be paid by both LA teams. So I think he's doing all right for himself. There is a pitcher named Corbin Burns for the Milwaukee Brewers. He is the first pitcher in Major League Baseball history. And keep in mind, when we talk about Major League Baseball history, this goes back to the 1870s. That's how long baseball's been around. So he's the first pitcher in Major League Baseball history to start a season with 52 strikeouts and 0 walks. And I actually wrote this stat down on Saturday, so I'm sure those numbers have been changed even a little bit more. Just one last Major League news and notes here. Right now, the current batting average, so if you took every player and every at-bat that has happened this season, as of this past weekend, collectively the average was 234. So, that's basically saying, you're going to get a hit 23% of the time, which is the second lowest in all of Major League Baseball history. Again, dating back to not hundreds, but 150 years or so. So counterpoint to that, right now in 2021, it is the 6th highest rate of home runs per game, which is 1.15 home runs per game. So home runs are up, strikeouts are up. And that, to me, is a little bit to the detriment of baseball because there's not that, get a base hit, move the runner. There's not that, that extra level of thinking, strategizing, and, the fun part of baseball. Everybody loves the home run, don't get me wrong, but when it's either just strikeouts or just home runs, that takes some of the fun away from it.
If every play was a Hail Mary to the end zone is what it would be like.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's either it's going to be an incomplete pass, an interception, or a touchdown. There's only 3 outcomes. And, in baseball, there's so many different things that can happen, but it just doesn't seem to be happening, at least at this pace this year. So if I could, I want to bring up the next. This is just a real quick review of what we talked about on the Zoom call. So my top 5 Tuesday of the most influential NBA players over the past 30 years. So this is from the 1991 season until now. So on those, I had Shaq, Kobe, LeBron, Steph Curry, and Michael Jordan. And you can see some honorable mentions down there. I had Allen Iverson. Allen Iverson and Shaq, to me, were sort of a coin flip. Yao Ming, who brought in a ton of fans from China, and just kind of transcendent person over there. We also had James Harden, Russell Westbrook, Dirk Nowitzki, Dwayne Wade, and Kevin Durant. So those are sort of my transformational players over the last decade. Now, some people might say, well, you don't have Larry Bird in there. You don't have Magic Johnson. Well, they were right at the end of their career in that early 90s portion. So that's why they didn't make the list. But I thought I would throw that up there because this past weekend in Springfield, Massachusetts, was the NBA Hall of Fame inductees. And there was 9 individuals elected into the Basketball Hall of Fame. And 3 of those included 3 big names that were very, very prominent over the past 30 years. So Kobe Bryant, Tim Duncan, and Kevin Garnett. All 3 of those players made a huge impact on the game. And obviously everyone knows Kobe Bryant's story over the last, last year and the tragedy that happened with him and his daughter and several other families that were on that helicopter. If you get a chance, look up his wife's speech. Michael Jordan walked her up. She gave a great speech and it's very touching and very, very inspirational message that she sent. So check that out if you get a chance. A couple other baseball notes and basketball notes. So I guess this is both baseball and basketball. Alex Rodriguez, who a lot of people will remember from the Yankees, from the Texas Rangers, but he also started his career with the Seattle Mariners. Alex Rodriguez, who is him and another partner, he's sort of the minority partner on this, but they agreed to buy the Minnesota Timberwolves for $2.15 billion this past weekend. But a lot of speculation on that is Alex Rodriguez still has some roots over in Seattle. The Seattle Supersonics were a huge NBA team, up until about 20 years ago. They moved to OKC and became the Thunder. But they're speculating, could this, potentially be the Timberwolves moving to Seattle? Could it mean, other life for that franchise in Seattle, which would be great for the city of Seattle, but would absolutely suck and be devastating for fans of the Timberwolves. So that's just speculation right now, but we will see how that goes. And over the next year or so, we'll tell a story of how that'll all pan out.
If it was only 1.5 billion, I don't know why we didn't just pull our money together and grab them.
I thought about it. I just, I just couldn't pull the trigger. I was like, Minnesota, do I want to be there half the year?
Weather's terrible there.
I know. It's just, you think it's cold here.
That was the consideration.
You get up in Minnesota in a February morning, not ideal. A lot of people will remember Marv Albert. He is famous broadcaster. He was with NBC for a long time. He's with TNT and their network now. He's going to retire at the end of the season. I don't want to get into Marv Albert too much off the court, but do you remember that story way back when?
Yes.
Oh,
He's a weird dude.
He was dressing up like a woman with women. I don't know. So you guys, that's another Google search you guys can do off
do it
air.
on your own. Yeah.
I'm not getting into that, but
choose your own adventure.
He's got a legendary yes, and he might have thrown that out in whatever he was doing with that too. All right, and one more slide here I want to throw up with the NBA is the play-in tournament. So I talked to you on a couple podcasts ago about what the play-in tournament is. It actually begins tonight, and it's going to start in the Eastern Conference. So the 7 and the 8 seed are going to play each other. So the Boston Celtics are a 500 team, 36 and 36. They're going to take on the Washington Wizards at 34 and 38. That game's tonight at 9. Before that game tips off is going to be the 9 and the 10 game. So this game, the Indiana Pacers and the Charlotte Hornets, it's basically winner take all, it's win and move on, and lose and you're gone. So if the Pacers or the Hornets lose, they're out, okay? And whoever wins the 7-8 matchup will become the 7 seed. Whoever wins the 9-10 matchup will play the loser of the 7 and 8 game, if that makes sense. And then tomorrow night in the Western Conference, everybody got the matchup they really wanted. So you have the Los Angeles Lakers, last year's reigning champions, at 42 and 30, taking on Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors at 39 and 33. So you got LeBron and Steph Curry matching up in that, which is going to be a phenomenal matchup. A lot of people think that's going to be the biggest game of the playoffs, and it's happening the very first game. That game's at 10 o'clock tomorrow night, Wednesday night. And then the winner of that, like I said, will get the 7 seed in the West. The losing team will face the winner of the 9-10 matchup, which is Memphis and San Antonio. So that should be some interesting basketball. I have to say, though, I love this because there's so much tanking in basketball. And then, so a lot of these 9 and 10 seeds that normally wouldn't even be sniffing the playoffs are in technically, and, they have a chance to be the 8 seed. So you could go from a 10 seed to an 8 seed just by winning 2 games. And, you got a shot, and that's all you can really ask for in the NBA.
I got a question for you. So do you think between football and basketball that basketball is more physically demanding as far as like if you have like a game the next day that you're still jacked up from the previous day?
I'm saying football. I'd say just football all day. Basketball, believe it or not, is a major contact sport. You're constantly running, banging into people. Football is that short, like 4 or 5 second, but it's, you're constantly just collisions pretty much. Right. So I think, and it might also depend on what position you play too. Kicker obviously can play every day. Punter's playing every day. Some of those offensive linemen, they're kind of knocking each other every play.
But they lock up
right. And if you're playing a heavy running team and you're a defensive back and maybe you're not in on every play and stuff, but football, that's why it's once a week. That's why
they get 6 days to recuperate.
Exactly. It's just so physically
basketball,
demanding.
they could go back to back to back.
Yeah.
It's a lot of running.
Basketball is so, that's why you hear the term in basketball, they use the term load management, which is, they want to keep their stars fresh for the playoffs. And you're not seeing that as much this year because teams don't want to play in this play-in tournament because they want a guaranteed spot. They want to rest those guys. So I think in a way, this play-in tournament is great for the fans, not necessarily for certain players or certain teams, but it's great for the fans. And that to me is what it should be about. It sort of has that NCAA tournament vibe because NCAA tournament, it's like one game. Then you can be done. If there's a series, a 5 or a 7 game series, most of the time the best team's going to come out on top. But in a 1 game winner take all, you never know. Like let's say Steph Curry tonight for Golden State goes for 50, and LeBron and Anthony Davis have an off night. They win, they move on, and the Lakers are faced with a sort of a do or die situation then. So
and baseball can play all their games in one day. They can do quadruple headers for whatever day.
And don't get me wrong too, baseball like it's a grind too because they play so many games. Right. Like 162 every year, and I mean that can take its toll on players, but again, pitchers too. Like at least a starting pitcher, you pitch, you have maybe a rest day, you have a bullpen day, you have another rest day, and then you have like kind of a warm-up day before you start. So, I guess it just totally depends on the position, your team. It's total case by case, I guess. But yeah, you're right. I would list it in order: football, basketball, baseball. Yeah. Hockey, I don't know enough about, but my God, hockey's got to be so brutal.
Yes,
so brutal. Right. And one thing I don't have in my notes today too, but if anyone out there is a big hockey fan, I have to do a little bit more research right now. I know the playoffs are starting for hockey. So hockey's a little weird this year because there's so many Canadian teams. And there's a whole thing with crossing the border into Canada. So right now, like the Toronto Raptors were playing in Tampa Bay. The Toronto Blue Jays were playing in Florida, and they're probably soon moving to Buffalo to play all their home games. So right now in Canada, all the Canadian teams are playing each other. So it's like a Canadian conference and an American conference. So that's fine until you get to the finals. Then what do? You
play on Zoom, eh? Just play with Zoom hockey, eh?
Well, how's the booth that? How's the booth they play on the Zoom? I had heard, and this is so funny but so ridiculous. They're like, why don't they just build an outdoor rink right on the border? You have the center, the line, the mid line, the face-off line. They have the American side on one side,
the fans on the other side. Yeah,
or just don't do it with fans. Just have some cameras there.
Okay,
so
I'm game.
I don't know.
That's cool.
If anybody is smarter than me, which is most of you watching, you can call in and let me know if you know anything about the hockey stuff, because that's something I got to do a little bit more research on before we get to the finals. So.
I'm going to see if maybe they'll let us do a broadcast down at Cavelli when one of the the hockey matches are going on. Is it a match? Is that what you call it?
Hockey.
Is it match or game?
I don't know. I don't think it's. I don't know. I don't know. A hockey game. I would call it a hockey game.
I'll say match. You say game.
Okay. Contest.
All right.
Contest?
Well, whatever it
I don't
is,
know.
we'll see if we can do a broadcast, because I'd love to get in with those guys.
Yeah, absolutely. It used to be the Steelhounds. Now it's the Phantoms and the Cavelli Center. That's a nice little jewel we have downtown too. That's a beautiful arena.
And it's like 3 blocks from us, guys. It's like right down.
Literally right downtown. And someone we might have to have on soon too is Eric Ryan to talk about some of the concerts coming back. I know they just announced Alice Cooper over there at the outdoor amphitheater. I'm sure Cavelli's getting their people worked in. Maybe they can get one back at YSU. I'm not sure.
We sent an invitation, so we're just waiting on him to open it.
Okay, very good, very good. So let's do one more graphic here, and it's going to be the Cleveland Browns schedule. So now switching to football. And obviously, If you're a Steeler fan, sorry, this is a Browns podcast. We know that. We will talk about the Steelers. We will talk about the Ravens. We will talk about the Bengals. But for the most part,
smack talk, not just regular talk.
Exactly. But we do specialize here in the Cleveland Browns. So looking at the schedule, which was just released last week, the Browns open up with the Chiefs, and then they play back-to-back home games. The Browns, for the last, ever since they came back, I can only remember them playing on the road once or twice, and most of their games have opened up at home, but most of those games have not gone the way we'd like to. So opening up against the two-time defending AFC champion Kansas City Chiefs is a tough matchup. Probably, if you look at the schedule, the game most likely you would lose on that schedule, probably your toughest opponent. After that, you have a couple really, really nice games to come home to. So if somehow the Browns can open up with a win against the Chiefs, when they win against the Chiefs, you will have an absolutely raucous environment up in Cleveland, and you're taking on the Texans, who probably will not have Deshaun Watson and are just a shell of the team they were 2 years ago. So, nothing in the NFL is given. You always are going to hear that any given Sunday, but the Browns, the way they are set up, you're going to have a tough game with the Chiefs, but then you got two very winnable games right after that.
Well, let me give you my opinion on this. I think if it's early in the season, teams don't really have their stuff together by that point.
Right.
So if you're going to get a win against that team, you want it to be early, where you're a little bit more of a wild card against them, rather than after they get their offense and defense really together and they're who they're going to be starting and playing. So I prefer it.
And that could actually be the same case for the Browns too. Both teams could be trying to figure out. I know the Chiefs sort of have a revamped offensive line. The Browns are probably going to have 9 new starters on defense going in. You're going to have Myles Garrett and you're going to have Denzel Ward, but like everybody else at every other position could be a brand new starter, which is pretty crazy to think.
And Patrick's going to be a little afraid of us.
Yeah,
right, he really is.
Right, yeah. He had the off-season foot surgery.
Right.
And we'll see. So hopefully the Browns defense can make some noise. There was one really interesting schedule quirk here I saw. So if you look at week 12 and week 13 and week 14, week 12, you're playing at Baltimore away. Week 13, you are off with a bye. Week 14, you are home against Baltimore.
Ravens.
So you play the Ravens back-to-back games, and you have a bye in between. So best case scenario, you go on the road and beat Baltimore, and then you come home and it's kind of like house money. Worst case scenario, you lose, you get a week to rest up, and then you play the Ravens at home, and you're kind of like the hungrier team.
Or you just sweep them all together and not even worry about anything.
Exactly. And to me, that's fine by me. Pittsburgh. And did you see the date on the Pittsburgh game?
Oh, what is it?
Halloween.
Ooh,
1 o'clock in Cleveland. So, I would like that game to be, I wish it was a little bit earlier, but you'll have a good sense of who you are by week 8 when Pittsburgh comes to town. That's a huge game. And looking at the schedule, that is the first conference game, or that's the first division game. Right. Because you open up, you got a heavy NFC schedule early on with, 3 or first 6 games against the NFC with the Bears, the Vikings, and the Cardinals. You don't play an AFC North game until week 8, but then you got, the Steelers, the Bengals, and then the Ravens for 2 in 4 out of 6 weeks there. So
any preseason games? Are they doing that anymore?
They are going to do 3 preseason games, but it's going to be weird because in your head you always have that math down for 16. So it's 9-7, 10-6, 8-8, whatever it might be. But now it's going to be 17 games. So it's going to be, even though it's only one number different, it's going to throw things off. It's going to be weird saying 9-8 or 10-7 or whatever it might be to get you your sum of 17. But hopefully, the Browns, I saw Vegas, I believe, has them at 11 wins as their over-under. So that would put them at 11-6. Which is what Vegas thinks of them. I think that's probably a pretty good prediction. I see anywhere from 10-7 to, I think 13's too high. So I'm going to say 10-7 to 12-5 is sort of
who do
my
you think is going to
prediction.
be the challenges on the schedule? Who do you think if
Okay,
we're going to take an L?
So Kansas City is going to be the toughest game.
Okay.
On like just based on paper. Green Bay we play on Christmas Day in Green Bay. Now, will Aaron Rodgers be on the team? That is a whole other ball game, to determining how that game's going to play out. So you have Aaron Rodgers on the team. That game's going to be a lot tougher. You're probably going to be a little bit of a slight underdog in that game. And then you got to go against the big dogs. The Ravens are still the bullies in the division. So you have back-to-back games against the Ravens. I say you have to split those. So I'm assuming a split there. So the Chargers are going to be tough. The Steelers, as much as I hate to say it, they're still the Steelers. So, let's just say you split those games.
Okay,
but
so split the Ravens, split the Steelers.
So that's 2. Kansas City, I'm just going to say 3. Now,
Packers.
Now, again, it's way too early. And you got the Patriots on there. They're still going to be tough, and that's an away game.
So there's your 6 right there. If that's it, you split our division.
Mm-hmm.
Well, except for Bengals, we'll take both.
We hope. Now, here's an interesting thing with the Bengals. I can see the Bengals. I just took a peek at their schedule real quick. The Bengals very easily could start off this season 5-2 or something like that, and then I could see them losing out because they have a brutal second half of the schedule. But the beginning part of the schedule is very, very easy for the Cincinnati Bengals on paper. Now, again, things can happen. There can be injuries. There can be, other things that happen. But and don't discount the Broncos. The Broncos are going to be a dangerous team. So the looking real quick at the schedule, and again, there's no easy wins in the NFL. But if I had to say the best chances for the Browns to win, the Texans, the Bears, the Vikings is sort of a Kevin Stefanski homecoming game, but I think that's a good shot. The Cardinals is probably a coin flip, but being at home, that helps. The Bengals, you should win both of those. The Patriots, a coin flip. The Lions should be an easy win, you would think. The Raiders should be a win. Green Bay without Aaron Rodgers should be a win. So, there's no easy wins in the NFL. So we'll see. And again, what is it? May 18th. So we have a while to go, but, in probably about 3 months from now, though, we'll be making our predictions for how this is going to go. So what's your real quick thoughts on the schedule? What do you see?
I don't think it's very tough schedule, and even though we've got a couple of teams that are got some strength to it, it's the caliber of our team kind of changed that dynamic. I feel so much more confident in what we put out on the field, so I'm even excited to see what those games look like.
Yeah, and it's going to be looking at what. Based on last season's records, I think the Browns have the 9th toughest schedule out of the 30 teams, but that's all really close. Looking at it, they said the Steelers had the hardest ranked schedule in the NFL, and Baltimore was right up there behind them, and the Browns were 9 or 10. So
any idea how they set that? How do they come up with this schedule?
I think they went on they go on winning percentage. So the Browns technically finished 3rd place last year. So everybody in the AFC North is playing every team from the AFC West and what else? And the NFC North. So you're playing, let's see, the Bears, the Vikings, the Lions, and the Packers from the, so every team in the AFC North plays those teams, and every team in the AFC North plays the AFC West, which is the Chiefs, the Chargers, the Raiders, and I'm missing one, and the Broncos. So they all 4 play those. And then the Browns would play a 3rd place schedule, which generally just means 1 or 2 games. So you're going to play the Cardinals, who finished 3rd in their division. And then I'm not sure who the other team would be, but the Patriots probably would be the other 3rd place game on their schedule. So that's how it's sort of just, and then it's thrown together and people smarter than I am put that, the algorithms and all that stuff together. And, they got to deal with like crossover dates and other team sports and concerts and all this stuff. I'm sure it's not easy to do that, but
really it's somebody's kid picks the teams out of fishbowl. That's it.
Yeah, throw a dart
that's
at the
it.
thing. But last thing I want to just mention too, that Raiders game right now is slated either Saturday or Sunday, depending, because that's kind of post-college football regular season. So that could be a potential night game. And then your other night games are at Pittsburgh, which we know how that went last time, at Baltimore, and then you have a Thursday night home game against the Denver Broncos. So again, that's our schedule for now. We'll see how that plays out. We have a few months to sort of digest that, look at that, and analyze it. So we will have more information then. But the Browns, we have a lot of positive vibes going forward, and hopefully that still holds true when the season starts. So we're going to close the show here. We will be back on Thursday. Again, I'd like to thank Alex George. I'd like to thank Joe. And thank you all out there for watching and listening. And we will see you on Thursday. Have a great night.
Thank you for listening to this show on Youngstown Studio. If you like our programming, we invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow our Facebook page, or subscribe to your favorite podcast platform like iTunes or Spotify. This is original Youngstown content, and we would appreciate you sharing the video